All right. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 1st meeting of the Town of Standish Planning Board. Meeting will now come to order. This is a public proceeding unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session. You have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are offered. Please notify me if you are unable to hear or see the material. The board works from a prepared agenda. And this evening, just to start out, I'd like to take a minute to thank Carolyn and Patrick for their service on the board. I believe it's the last meeting.
It is, Charlie, thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum this evening. We have 6 members here present. Patrick is missing at the moment, but he may show up. The agenda this evening includes approval of previous meeting minutes for May. And then we have 3 approvals of finding of facts. First one is for Farmhouse LLC, the Woodland Heights subdivision. And then we have Woods Aggregate on Middle Road for their pit extension and R.J. Gronin Middle Road pit extension. We have no items of old business and 1 item of new business, which would be R.J. Gronin and Sons, which is for a site plan application for a new pit off Pequawket Trail, which is known as the Finney Pit. And then at the end, we will have 3 public hearings relative to Chapter 181. The applicant has the burden to prove to the board that their application is complete and meets all applicable town standards. Any person wishing to address the board may do so in accordance with the following procedures. Please utilize the podium or one of the provided microphones. First, the board will open the public hearing for the applicant to present their project. The town planner will then provide his assessment of the project and hear responses from the applicant. Board members will then ask questions and hear responses. Then the hearing will be open to the public for comment, and the applicant can respond to those comments. The board may receive any oral or documentary evidence, but such evidence is restricted to the subject matter of the agenda item. The board shall exclude irrelevant and immaterial or unduly repetitious evidence. Citizens shall refrain from interrupting other speakers. This meeting is being tape recorded, and it is very difficult to hear what is being said when multiple people speak at the same time. Citizens shall avoid person attacks and conduct themselves in a civil, courteous manner as expected by all participants. All questions should be addressed through the chair. Speakers shall not attempt to engage in debate with other meeting participants. Upon hearing from the public, the hearing will be closed for that application, and the board will deliberate and vote on the application. Following the decision on the application, either towards the end of the meeting or at the board's next regular meeting, the board will prepare written finding of fact and approve them for the records. Okay, first item of business is the approval of the minutes for the May 1st meeting. I had a couple of minor typos which I called into Jackie today. I don't know that I have to bring them up, but I can. One was on page 2. Robin Sorley's name was Robin Shorley.
Rick Shorley.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on page 6, the AI group picked up MSHAR as the Maine Mining and Solid Waste Authority instead of the Mine Safety and Health Administration. So we've adjusted those, I believe. Anybody else find anything?
No.
Is there a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of May 4th with the changes proposed.
I'll second it.
And move and second to approve the minutes of the May 4th meeting. Further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Sean is missing from action. All right. First finding of fact is Farmhouse LLC, which is a subdivision that's up off Route 114. I read through finding of facts. They seem to be address everything that we had talked about. Anybody else see? I missed anything? No, there's a motion to approve as written.
Make a motion to approve the finding of fact on Farmhouse LLC as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's moved and second to accept the finding of facts as written. Further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. June 1st, right? Very good. Next item. Right over here. Is the Woods aggregate at 249 Middle Road. Map 9, Lot 2 is the 5-year gravel pit expansion for them, which is pretty straightforward. There's only 4 conditions. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the finding of facts as written. Further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. I found a good pen.
Oh, you need a good pen?
No,
That's fair.
Jackie provided me with a pen that actually works. Works quite well. And the last finding of fact we have is for RJ Grondin at 295 Middle Road, map 9, lot 15, for 5-year gravel pit renewal. That one we have basically the same. We have 4 conditions.
Make a motion to accept the finding of fact as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the finding of facts as written. Further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Very good. Very good. All right. Said there's no old business, so we move right into new business. The business item is from RJ Gronin Sons for 401 Pequawket Trail, map 5, lots 71, 73, 76, map 9, lots 12, 13, 14, 14A, 14B. That's for a site plan application for a gravel pit expansion. Looks like Kendra's got the floor.
Good evening, Kendra Maris, Sebago Technics, and I'm here on behalf of RJ Gronin and Sons. We have submitted a site plan review application for a new pit. I'll call it a new pit. I think locally it will be considered an expansion of the Churchill pit, but it is over what's called the Finney lands in between Route 113 and Middle Road. There is an existing access road that goes from Route 113 to Middle Road and across Middle Road to serve the Churchill Pit. So what we're proposing is new excavation areas along that section of the existing access road. So there's a total of 72 acres of extraction area proposed. We've called it out as 3 separate areas, but it'll be phased in 10-acre increments. And the total land holdings are equal to 265 acres. It's made up of 8 parcels. One of those parcels is not owned by RJ Gronin and Sons. It's a direct abutter. And we've submitted a draft agreement for a lease with that owner to be able to excavate on their property. We're maintaining 150-foot buffer on all properties adjacent to us that we don't have agreements in place to excavate either on their land or adjacent to their land with a smaller buffer. And we're holding a 25-foot buffer along the Middle Road right-of-way, which is on the northern portion of the property. I believe Mr. Hastings had included something in his review memo about the discontinuance of Middle Road and owning to the center line of it. So we have a few adjustments there to make on the plans. Right now, we're still showing Middle Road as a 50-foot right-of-way, but it doesn't change the excavation area that we're proposing in any way. It's more of just a matter of adjusting the notations and the way it's shown. We do have wetlands on site. These were mapped by Flycatcher along with a couple of vernal pools. 2 of those vernal pools are significant, and we are maintaining the required 250-foot buffer from both of those significant vernal pools. We are not impacting the non-significant vernal pools on the site, which are up in the northwestern portion of the site. There's no excavation proposed in that area, but there are no direct impacts to significant vernal pools or their buffers. We do have direct wetland impacts, very small, less than 4,300 square feet. There is a, it's kind of an isolated wetland that's in the middle of Area 2 that will be impacted. Other permits that are required are a notice of intent to comply through DEP. We will be submitting sending out the notices for that tomorrow. So direct abutters should receive those soon. And then we'll be actually submitting that application in about a week. So that will be on file with the DEP to review if the public would like to do that. And a copy will also be provided to the town for review. That is pretty much it for other permitting. We're not required to submit a PBR for the wetland impacts because they're under 4,300 square feet. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We've submitted a long list of how we're addressing different performance standards, and I can answer any questions on those as well.
Okay, thank you. Scott, would you like to add anything or ask anything or?
Yeah, I believe you're all given that we go along with the town's third-party review, go over it. They have some comments that we have not received responses to at this time. We just got those last week. The buffer off of Middle Road that was discussed, I mean, that everything that was said is correct. We do need a written and recorded deed with the abutting property across that property line, the wood, which would be the woods excavations, to have excavations within 150 feet of that property line. That's another outstanding item. I don't have a formal response from the Public Safety Department at this time, but I think the major concern there, given that the access already exists, they have no problem using it, is just making sure that there's a clear travel way through that, I guess it's Area 2, which would subsume that access way. Make sure there's always a clear way for people who are not familiar with the pit to find their way quickly across that area to respond to any emergencies at the Woods pit or at the Churchill pit. Those are the major items that are out at this time. Similar to that waiver requirement, I Did talk to town attorney. Technically, the language in the ordinance is for every lot line. You have to keep excavations off by 150 feet unless through a recorded deed instrument. And to do that to all these pits under the same ownership, all these lot lines that are internal to the pit, the town attorney just recommended to be clean, that we just waive that requirement for these internal lot lines for the lots that are owned or leased by Grondon. And that would mean they don't have to record 15, 20 easements to have this span the existing property lines.
So that's primarily due to the fact that Finney picked those pieces up individually and they're all clustered in one deed.
I mean,
Accepting.
they're considered separate parcels, and then
Right.
they're not all owned by the same entity, with the leased lot owned by another entity.
Right.
So it would just be a lot of deed work when the town can just not require that because it's internal lot lines.
So that's the waiver we've been asked to grant.
Right. And the waiver doesn't, even if you didn't grant it, doesn't mean they can't do it. They just have to do a lot more paperwork. Doesn't seem like there's any particular reason for that when they already control all that they can grant themselves that.
It was also suggested that it be made a condition of approval that those signed lease agreements be in place prior to construction. So we can get those both from the Area 3 abutter as well as Woods.
And Woods actually has a defined easement over that existing access way, I remember.
That's correct.
I think there's a deed that we've seen. So that really won't change any. It'll just get lower.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, if you'd like me to address that comment, just maintaining access. So the gray area of Area 2, which is the excavation area, is over the existing access road currently. So as that area is being excavated, the access road will be rerouted around where they're actively working. The portion of new road will be built within the pit area, and then they'll excavate in where the current road is. But yes, access will be maintained all of the time. And it does serve as emergency access for the Churchill pit, so it needs to be maintained.
I think the only other thing was I got an email today for the performance guarantee in open pit area. It provided some numbers proposing that it would be 10 acres of working pit and 5 acres of non-reclaimed stockpiles and other items, with a proposed performance guarantee of $45,000.
That's correct, yeah.
So we can plug those numbers into the holes in the conditions if we get to that.
Yep. Okay.
Just a quick question on that.
Carolyn?
Haven't we heard in the past that 5 acres was not enough area for stockpiles?
Different pits have different needs. That was from a different pit operator. I'm assuming that they know what they would like to have. But so it's definitely something to ask them if they feel that that's sufficient.
I mean, we heard at length how that is not sufficient before, so I'm just surprised. I do have a concern about doing any waiver if leases have not been signed, negotiated and signed personally.
That could be a condition of approval. Assuming the town received those before.
Yeah, we can definitely
Don't
ask
get
that
it,
we
then
get a copy
it's
of
not an
that
approved
lease.
project,
Want
right?
to know that it has been finalized before work starts.
Can I speak to that?
Mr. Grondin?
Hello, Larry Grondin, RJ Grondin Sons. So yes, as far as the waiver, that's really just, because there's like 7 different lots, the way we purchased it from Finney. But as far as not internal lots, so with, Woods and Shaw, that would be, our intent is to have that at the next meeting. Signed agreements and executed. So that's the intent. The waiver is just for our own lots because there's 7 of them. That's the only thing being asked for a waiver,
Right.
which was suggested by the lawyer.
Right, but one of them is for a leased parcel.
Correct, and
Right, and I'm just saying that lease hasn't been negotiated and finalized
It's
yet.
this close. So our intent is to have both buffer agreements and the lease complete before our next meeting. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to add, I think the waiver is for the necessity of recording them, not to not have them in place and signed.
I understand.
Okay,
And that's required by
Just wanted to clarify.
DEP too, right? If you're gonna go that close to the property line.
yeah, actually, I do.
Those have to be
believe they recorded for DEP, but not, so the internal parcels wouldn't have to be, it would be just the,
Journal.
yeah, just the 8th lot.
Okay,
I have a question, Charlie.
all right.
The access road, would ATVs still be able to go down that? It was approved, because the outpost has been getting a lot of business from that, and you kind of cut it off.
There are some trails that go through our property, and we work with the local clubs to try to give them access, but also not give them access. You know, particularly to the working pit, hazards associated with that. The clubs have been very proactive on trying to keep people in that lane, but we try not to have them use the road just because of truck traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
So there is a spot off the access road now. I haven't been down there in a long time, so.
Yeah, a lot of it.
They're supposed to be
a
like
lot of it
off
comes-
the access road right now?
Correct, yes.
With the-
There's no defined trail down the access road just because of all the traffic. But a lot of it comes down Middle Road and then out through the woods where they should be anyway.
It crosses the access road, what about?
Does an
300
occasional
yards in,
guy
something
get off
like that?
trail and go somewhere? Yeah, probably. But we've seen it pretty minimal, especially where we're there regularly now. Most people respect it for the,
So I'm just making sure there's gonna be a way to get
oh, yes,
Get-
no,
there with the pit being.
Yep. Yep, and over the last even 5 years, we've had to move the trail, you know, just small sections of it because of the progress of the original pit, you know, on the other side, not what we're talking about tonight. And they've been really proactive on communicating with us, hey, let's put it over here, this would be better for the long run. And so the intent is not to block that off. We try to share our land for hunting and recreational uses
I know.
as much as reasonable.
I've seen the parking lot's been full.
Yep.
ATVs and
Yep.
dirt bikes. It's a big
No,
business.
we try to work with the local clubs as long as they're working with us, and so far they have been.
Right,
Question, I'm not saying there is an issue, but what is the status of folks using it as a shooting range?
That we do not condone.
Okay.
We try to,
That's what I wanted to hear, but I
Yep.
wasn't sure, is it an issue?
there has been a little bit on this. We've been trying to clean it up. We've put up some basic signage, then they'll shoot that, but we don't promote it. We will let it, you know, anyone come in and hunt and fish and things like that. But for an active shooting range, no, we
Okay.
don't condone that. We try to prevent it. It's not perfect, but we do try.
Okay,
We try to limit access as much as we can.
Todd?
On the memo, Scott, it brings up in a sense the site plan criteria, that under soil and drainage, third-party engineering review has raised concerns that must be addressed. Also, in the lower paragraph, it talks about the fact of whether we can grant, that the concerns, the engineering comments with third-party review, I feel are large enough that they need to be answered prior to final approval. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board what level of conditions they're willing to entertain. I think I would recommend holding final until we have settled all the engineering concerns.
We agree. There are some comments for Goral Palmer's memo, if you'd like to review them now.
I mean, I'd rather not do it right here in the meeting, but
Okay,
I'm
that's fine.
confident you're working on them. I'm not.
So the intent is to have those comments in this week or early next week at the latest.
Chair,
John?
I'd just like to add, given that the road that's gonna be removed and reinstalled. I think it's appropriate, if it's designated emergency access, that public safety take a look at the plan before we grant preliminary approval before we're doing
They've
that.
been asked to do that, so.
They have, and we just haven't
They
heard.
have been provided the plan, I just don't have anything formal
Okay.
in tonight.
I agree.
Contingent.
How are you envisioning the road going through area 2? Would it be kind of like stakes or something, or?
So if I could, this is the easiest. Hold on.
Spoke too
That's what you
soon.
get when you try to move a tripod. So currently the road is, it comes out here and here, so it generally goes like this. So what we would do is we would dig out likely the northern, planned northern half to propose grading. And then once that's complete, we would, reconstruct a road, and then we would just connect the dots on both ends and then just shift that traffic over, and then you can dig out the other half, if you will. I don't know if it's exactly half, but you get my point. We did the same thing in Gorham under a public road, very successfully, with no issues. So, same concept. There'd be zero interruption in access for our trucks, emergency vehicles, woods, or anyone else.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question to Frank's concerns when you said you're trying to keep shooters out. What does that mean? What are you actually doing to?
So we have gates up on the Hall Road. We try to block off pathways that are not part of, the four-wheeler club and snowmobile club.
Like with rocks or something?
Yep, often rocks, sometimes a tree, but rocks tend to be more effective. You can cut a tree, right? Big boulders the size of this desk, people can't move pretty easily. So we try to put up some signage as well. Lately, it's been a little more active, and we've been trying to clean up and deter as much as possible. I mean, if it continues, we'll probably put up some cameras and work with the local game wardens, which we've done in the past, and it helps. Because it's just like, okay, you got one warning. If we see you here again, we're gonna press charges. So if we gotta take it to that level, we will.
You could put up some signs that you're on camera, but not actually have cameras, and they'll be looking for the cameras everywhere. They'll never find them because there aren't.
Okay.
Freak them out.
Yep.
Anyone else from the board? Motion to open it up to the public?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, that we open up for public comment.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So, name's Anthony Folsom. I have called 3 times lately on shooting that's going on the access road now. And as I drive by, there's pretty much shooting range set up. There's places where people are targeting and stuff like that, and still have an issue with it because they're leaving all their trash. I know it's not my property, but it looks like crap when you go down there. And with these existing things that still exist there, people think it's a shooting range. So I understand they're trying to do things about it and dealing with the problem, but it is still existing a problem. And my concern more is, how many pits are they gonna have going at one time, and how much traffic is gonna be coming out on 113? Does anybody have any concern about the amount of vehicles, the dump trucks that are gonna be pulling out onto 113 over the next 50 or 60 years? Because this pit probably will be open as long as the one in Gorham at the bottom of Brandy Brook Hill, which was originally for the main turnpike, and it's still in operation today. So this is not just a short period of time. This could be 100 years worth of noise coming out of that pit that neighbors and everybody else has to be concerned with, and traffic. So I hope that becomes some kind of a thought in you guys' mind on the approval of this thing, on how many trucks and how many pits they're gonna have active at the same time. And I'm talking about Grondins. I know Wood's got one pit, but these guys have enough land that they're gonna be working on 2 or 3 pits at a time. That's a lot of trucks that can be coming in and out of there. So just wanted you to make aware. Thank you.
Respond.
Yep, I'll address traffic. So we submitted a memo on traffic. We anticipate about 20 trips per day, average with truck traffic. That equates to about 2 trucks within the peak hour, and that's 4 passenger car equivalents. It's not the intention of Grondin to have both pits being worked actively. They're not going to hire additional employees to make sure that they can excavate both pits at the same time. So the 20 trucks a day that we anticipate with Churchill Pit will not be running at the same time. In other words, the traffic will not be doubling at this entrance on 113. And I can have Larry come up and speak to shooting again if the board would like to hear more on that topic, but.
Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Seeing none, I make a motion to close for public comment.
Second.
We moved and seconded to close the public comment. Further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? All right. Public comment is closed. Couple of things we can discuss. One is, does the board want a site walk out here? I mean, I don't think you're gonna want to walk the whole thing. I've walked almost all of it, hunting in the past, so I'm familiar with it. Others may not be. The access road in is in good shape, can drive that easily. I'm not sure about Middle Road these days.
It's passable.
It's passable.
I've been down through it. I went down to see who's down in the issue. So, yeah, I can go in the front down. That's from the Oak Hill side in.
Is there any thoughts for the board? You all set without a site walk? You want a site walk?
We did one for the Woods pit, that's the only
Yeah, we've
thought
done
I
both of the
have,
other
but
ones.
we didn't really see much, cause there was nothing to see, really.
At that time, it was all woods.
Yeah,
You
and
see
this
the
has
same
been,
thing here.
this has been cut
Mhm.
pretty recently in the front area, so. I mean, but I guess I don't know what questions I would have if I were out there. Just
I
saying.
don't, I don't have a need to see it. I'm okay without it.
Sean, do you have any thoughts?
I think if we've set a precedent and it's best practice, we gotta take a look, but I'm new to this, so I would defer to the board's better judgment.
I mean, you'd see the major access road going in, see where the four-wheeler trails cross it. Some of them are relatively easy to walk in.
Yeah.
You can drive your vehicle on some of the back roads.
You got a truck, like Tony said.
Yeah.
We get an idea of the shooting. I can't weigh in because I won't be here.
Unless we did it tomorrow.
Can
At
we
least
vote
it's
on
not
that?
raining. At least, Andrew, it's not raining. Okay.
And we may have a couple of new members.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do a sidewalk, I wish we wait
Yeah,
until after the
well-
election, so.
Might be good for new members to do it too, so.
Yeah, just saying.
I defer to you, Charlie. What do you want to do?
These new members don't come on board until July.
Right.
Why?
I don't need to see it myself. If others do.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it'd be more than, I mean, Larry,
Yeah.
I can't think you're gonna wanna do any more than drive the roads.
Obviously, it's up to the board. It's been a haul road since the early 2000s, used for this use. The only thing that's changed in the recent past is before we bought the land, Finney cut it pretty hard. Other than that, it's an access road.
Yeah.
And we will work harder on
It
shooting.
shows well on the Google aerial stuff.
Yeah, and now that
That's a good
Google's updated basically every
It's a good
year.
view
like
of
you
it.
can
It's a
good
really
point.
see.
I would, fine in lieu of that.
We're
Sorry.
fine either way. It's totally up to you guys.
Like Charlie, I've hunted that area before, back in, back in the day. I don't have an issue with the sidewalk. I'll do them if the board wants to do them.
It's,
As Andrew knows, I have plenty of good boots.
and we could submit photos if that's helpful. It's wooded. There's nothing, other than the road, there's nothing there.
Even the wetlands are basically wooded wetlands.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much, yeah.
There will be photos in the wetland memo that's already been requested of land as well.
That's Alex, right? Fenimore?
Flycatcher.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, Charlie, I'm okay with satellite view,
Okay.
since it's been there for so long.
You good with that, Frank?
Appropriate.
Yes, I am. I'm okay with that.
Andrew?
Yeah.
I guess we're not gonna do a sidewalk.
Okay.
Very good. Do we want to talk about the waiver, or do we want to handle it all with a final approval one time?
I'd at least ask that if anybody feels they have issues with it, bring it up now so we can be prepared.
Sean?
I just think there's a lot of bullet points in both plans, Scott's and Gronin's third-party review. So long as those are captured and thoroughly fleshed out, I don't have an issue, but
Yeah.
there are a number of those in there that need to be talked about and recorded.
Yep. From a practical standpoint, I agree with you. Give them a chance to take care of that and get it done, then we won't have to grant a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they're all well in process.
Yeah.
Just couldn't wrap it up in a nice neat bow for this meeting, so.
Middle Road now is just an easement. It's a,
Correct.
it's a public easement over an abandoned or discontinued road.
Right.
So
So, yeah, I mean, we did not come in here looking for final approval
not
by
a
any
property
stretch. We
line.
have some plan,
right-of-way lines.
minor plan changes with the easement, just showing the line in the middle of the road. The other buffer agreements, which are well in process, the language drafted, it's being reviewed, et cetera, so. We did review the conditions of approval, the draft conditions of approval. The only thing we brought up to Scott, he said it was a 1-year approval, and we said, well, 5, I hope.
Saw that.
The year.
And that's-
Minor typo, everything else looked acceptable and fine.
I'd also like, Charlie, just to make sure we have fire safety, and then if they got all the paperwork all together and also the comments from fire safety would be a little bit.
Yeah.
It's technically a new pit, even though it's near an old pit area, but it is used for a lot of a lot of recreation and a lot of travel comes to that line.
Yep.
I just want to make sure fire safety is all set with the discussions, which I doubt will have an issue, Mr. Cronin, but just would make me less,
Yeah, I can lean on them to get us something in writing.
Yeah, sorry, that is the access area as well. That is an area that, is something that would come up where, if they had to get to one section or another, or the other pit.
Mhm.
Nice to have fire safety, make sure everything's fine.
Because that's the only access way plowed in the winter.
Correct.
Middle Road's not plowed all the way through.
Correct.
At least I don't believe it is.
This is what we're talking about is, I hate to say it, the snowmobile club.
Mhm.
They're out there a lot. And my only thing is if somebody God forbid, got into an accident.
Mhm.
That road is one of the few roads, that you can get
Out
to.
there, yeah, it's a lot of land out there.
It's been a big help to the public safety, to fire rescue, to have that there, so. As long as it's maintained, I think we'll be in good shape.
All right. Doesn't sound like anybody's got any big issues, so.
Well, one more, I think Kendra mentioned that they'd probably operate one pit at a time.
That's correct. We have no intention of operating both sides of Middle Road at the same time. This is really just a future aggregate.
So could that be like, if that changed, that you'd come back before the board?
We could, yes. Yep. I mean, just to give a little history, I don't want to belabor the committee, but, the original pit was not very active for a long, it was here and there, it was very spotty. Well, that's changed. A lot of our other sources have dried up, so this is now pretty active pit comparative what it was historically. So now the original pit is, we're going through the phases. So we're really just looking ahead to just, okay, once that's wrapped up, then we would, proceed across Middle Road and close that all out. So we don't need to have two pits right next to each other open. It's just not economically feasible for us to do it. It's really for future planning.
I think at the last meeting, you indicated that the second pit in the adjacent land is being closed, or is closed.
Yep, phase 2 is.
Really, the only
reclaimed.
reason the first pit's open is because of the rock that was encountered.
Correct. Yep, phase 2 is reclaimed, it's fully shaped. We're starting to reclaim parts of phase 3. So, yep. So I think there's 7 total, so we're moving through it now.
All right, very good. Seems like, is there a motion to table this till the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Move and second to table this till the next meeting? That will give the applicant time to wrap things up, hopefully. Everybody good with that?
I'm okay with that.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you for your time.
See you in July. The meeting in July is the 6th, because the 4th falls on the weekend? Or is the town
It's a
taking
Saturday.
Monday, the 6th
Yeah, the
off?
6th is the first Monday, and then I guess if anybody here knows, we were gonna wait for the elections to settle who's on the board before we make sure that we have quorum. We'll be following up with you since it's so close to the board.
I'm just wondering if the town was taking the 6th off for vacation day, a holiday day.
And I believe we're doing the 2nd.
You're taking Thursday off, very good. All right. Just clear this out of the way. And the last item, we have three public hearings relative to chapter 181. How do you want to handle, you want to do the impact fee first? Or the pit, the blasting?
Whatever you want.
Well, I'd like to highlight us on the blasting one.
Start with blasting? Sure.
Let's start with that one.
So this is a change, we're looking at the whole thing, but it came up in the context of issues we've had with the requirement for written permission within 200 feet of a property line or 300 feet of a structure. And that is a very restrictive requirement if we're requiring all blasting in town to have that. And it has fortunately not really been an issue until recently, and then it has, and we've had caused us to take a look at it, and we've realized that this really is a huge issue in anywhere where we have small lots. So any subdivision that where foundations need blasting, now 5 lots around that need to give permission or more, depending on how tight it is, and that becomes a headache and a hassle. Looking into it, reviewing other towns' ordinances, there is no other town in Maine that we can find that has such a requirement. It just doesn't exist. So we felt it was reasonable to remove that from general blasting. It is retained for gravel pits, which again, we've always required that, but typically it hasn't come up. Most of the pits don't blast that close to the property line unless they're next to another pit, and then it's easy generally to get permission. So that's what we're doing with that section. And then in looking at all the other ordinances and figuring out what we're doing, we realize that we don't really require notice to abutters about blasting so that they're aware of what's happening and have the chance to get pre-blast surveys done, things like that. After some debate, we have settled on language that were proposed that non-gravel pit blasting that is removing 300 or less cubic yards would notice property owners within 500 feet of the property lines, and the applicant, the blaster, would have to offer pre-blast surveys and well testings to any structures or wells within 250 feet of the actual area where the blasting is to occur. Then for blasting operations that are going to remove greater than 300 cubic yards, would still be that 500-foot property line notice requirement, and it would expand the pre-blast surveys and well testings to 500 feet of the actual blast area. And and there's a number of minor typo and language clarity changes that go along with that, but those are the big issues at hand in this change.
So this is mandatory. What if the pre-blast survey is denied? They still have to
They
get written
have to be
permission?
offered, they do not have to be accepted. We do ask that a list of the people who either did not respond to the offer or refused it is submitted to the town so that we know who is involved and that it was noticed. If anyone complains, we can say, we have that trail without having to harass the people. They collected that.
Does it spell out how they have to notice the neighbors?
Notices have to be sent out by certified mail, and there is some bullet point list of what information needs to be included in that.
Time frame?
Yes.
And is it the amount of cubic yard that really matters, or the blast load?
The cubic yards is how we are splitting these properties. That's standard to how ordinances handle it. And so that is what we're doing.
Why not?
So it's that
blast
300.
load?
Because that's not something that's come up as an issue. They have to meet all state requirements on the size and intensity of blasts.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that that is not what's been happening always in Standish. And what's the ramification when that doesn't happen? Does it spell that out?
I mean, if they're breaking state law, that there is greater repercussions through the state than
Is
through
there,
us.
when they
If
break
they
the
are
Standish ordinance?
breaking the Standish ordinance, they will probably have trouble getting future permits and doing future work in town. I have to pull up the
That
language.
doesn't-
Who's that, the code enforcement officer?
It's in that
Code
one.
enforcement officer oversees all of this, yes.
That doesn't, I don't think that really happens.
Still, sorry, Scott, this question is still the ordinance has the planning board shall conduct a hearing on applications for blasting and removal more than 300. I mean, there's still some public hearing stuff.
So for for the over 300 yards, we still have planning board public hearings.
Okay.
For under 300 yards, currently we have no notice requirements, and this adds them so that people can be aware of what's happening.
Can I ask a question, Scott? Chair. The original ordinance was based on linear footage from property lines. Now we're switching to cubic yards.
So the cubic yards distinction has always been there.
Okay. It's been in the original.
Yeah, we are using that same delineation on, like I say, over 300 goes to the planning board for permits, has notice requirements. Under 300 currently goes to the CEO, has no notice requirements.
Okay, and so. what we-
Either level require the applicant to pay for pre-blast surveys or well testings as of now. This would add that.
But we're removing the 200 to 300 foot.
We're removing that written requirement for, that setback from property line. Yes.
What is the well testing we're gonna test for? The structural integrity of the well or the quality of the water?
So it is the quality of the water, I believe. It's the flow rate as well as coliform bacteria, E. coli, nitrate, pH, copper, iron chloride, manganese, arsenic, calcium, and sodium.
Yeah, page 3 of 5, subsection B.
Just wanted to get it out in the air.
Why wouldn't a neighbor be notified of any amount of blasting, not to get permission, but just be notified.
That's why we're adding it.
But I mean, regardless if it's under 350.
Right, well, again, that's why we're adding it. I agree that that a butter should be noticed for any amount of blasting, and that is now what will happen in this new language. There are many towns who do not require notice at all for any level of construction blasting, let alone smaller blasting. But it is not that we have been below the standard, but I think this gives us better protection and better notice to abutters of blasting that happens in town.
So if they were in the past, our past, if you were 400 feet, you could blast without notifying anybody.
If you're doing less than 300 cubic yards and you are more than 200 feet or from a property line or 300 feet from a structure, you had to talk to the CEO and get a permit, but you did not have to tell your neighbors.
And the neighbors have to agree to it?
Under the current language, if you're within 200 feet, they would. Under the new language, there is no such ability for your neighbors to stop you.
Okay. But they have to be notified.
But they have to be notified, and if they're within 250 feet for the smaller blasts or 500 feet for the larger projects, they would need to be offered at the blaster's expense pre-blast surveys of structures and wells within those radiuses.
So potentially in a development, if you had 5 lots that all needed foundations blasted, they could do it all at once and do one permit rather than 5 individual ones. We see many times today.
If they, I mean, it depends on how it is. I mean, recently a lot of the subdivisions have been built by separate developers that buy individual lots. So I believe the way the language is if you're doing a bunch of, if you have a block of them that are all contiguous, that counts as a single project, you're gonna have to come into the planning board if you're permitting them all at once.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, yeah.
Motion to open this to the public?
I'll make a motion to open this specific amendment to the Standish Town Code, Chapters 181 blasting to the public.
And I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to open it to the public. Discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
And just
Anyone from the public like to speak?
Just before we're gonna come up, so I don't forget, just to address your question about enforcement, it is enforced under our general enforcement of the land use ordinance, and if you violate it, you are guilty of a misdemeanor and are fined not less than $50 and no more than $1,000. Repeated violations continue. And will be separate offenses, have to do that all over again. And then the fines come to the town.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public like to speak on this?
Deanna Loring, I'm a resident of Standish. This change in this amendment is basically because I said no. But I'm super confused right now because at the town council meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, the town manager told me that when the code enforcement officer said that I had the right to say no, that I would, because somebody was trying to blast within 100, the property line that they were trying to blast on was only 175 feet wide. And so they were within the 200 feet to my land, and I said no. And so when I came to the code enforcement officer that day, he told me that because he was blasting within 200 feet, that I could say no. And that's what I did. And then the developer went to the ordinance committee, and it's just gone down this whole rabbit hole. But at the town council meeting the other day, the town manager clearly told me that what this code enforcement officer told me was incorrect, that he had read the code wrong, and he shouldn't have said that I had the right to say no. But now Mr. Hastings just said the exact opposite. So I know I'm supposed to be talking to you people, but I'm just super confused. But I do have one question for you. So I guess I'm confused.
Part of why we are doing this is not to address any particular grievance, but is to clear up inconsistencies in the language. And I am not here to comment on how the code enforcement officer is doing his job in interpreting the language of the ordinance. And if the town, but it is certainly possible for the town manager to have read this and interpreted it differently. It is not worded clearly.
Okay,
And so the changes are
Colonel.
in part to make this clear.
thank you. So yes, currently right now, in a butter within who, if somebody wants to blast within 200 feet of an abutter,
That is how the code officer interpreted it and applied it, and that is his job.
they can say, I mean, the abutter has the right to say yes or no, because that's how it is right now. I just want to go back to the beginning, I guess, to make sure I'm asking the right questions here.
That is how the town has
Okay.
apparently been doing it. Yes,
Okay.
again, we are clearing up the uncertainties, so it's harder for me to give a more concrete answer.
That, I totally understand what you're saying. So then, the change in the ordinance was to move that from 200 to 100 feet. Are we still in that spot?
The new language removes the written requirement for the permission entirely,
Entirely, okay,
except for in gravel pits, which retains the 200 feet and the 300.
okay. So, this ordinance before you, although it removes an abutter's ability to say no, it does do a lot of good things to also protect an abutter. And it's something that I very much dealt with with a development that was going on. And my main question for you folks tonight was, if the planning board approves a blasting permit, and it's worded in the blasting permit by the applicant that they are not going to blast more than 5 times or 4 times in one day, whatever, however many times they say. Then they decide to go ahead and blast more than that, because per the town ordinance, they can. Which takes precedent? What the planning board approved for that particular development or the town ordinance? Because as a homeowner, I'm expecting no more than 4 blasts. But the reality was something totally different. So I just want to know what takes precedence, what the planning board approves based off the application or the town ordinance?
The planning board has placed conditions on their approval of a blasting permit, then that should be followed.
But that's if they place the condition, but if the applicant writes that verbiage in there, is that a condition or that's what they're saying they're going to do?
That is getting into a very, a non-hypothetical situation.
No, it's not a non-hypothetical situation.
I would need to see
I've
the
got 4
exact language.
emails that went
Applicants
out
don't
to
have
the
the
town
right
office in
make
regards to this
conditions of approval
situation.
from the planning board.
I mean, we're getting to the point of what is enforceable and what is not, and it's going to depend very specifically on the documentation submitted and what we have in front of us. In theory, they should be following the information that the board has when it is reviewed and the permit is issued. But
Well, it's not hypothetical, because on the Highlands application for blasting, their verbiage said they would blast no more than 4 times a day. And that is what the planning board approved. And with at least 4 emails where there was at least 5 times where they blasted more than 4 times a day. And I understand if there's misfires or things that happen, I do understand that. But when I was trying to get clarification, I couldn't get clarification. So I'm asking the planning board what takes precedent. And I understand that I'm just trying to help other people. They can't blast anymore by me. Who knows? But I'm just trying to help other people, because it was hell when that development was being put in. So that's all I want to know.
So, question, Scott, is this one of those areas where the code enforcement officer can make minor changes and allow additional blasts, even though there's conditions of approval that say no?
again, we're here to talk about a ordinance change, I will remind you, but to respond to that question, it is the code enforcement officers call what is a minor change. If it was a written condition placed on approval by the board, generally that is not considered a minor change because the board set that explicitly. If they put in their application and the board didn't address it, didn't hold it to a hard standard, that they were gonna do an X number of blasts in a day, and they go to the code officer and they say, well, based on our schedule, we think we need to do this one more. He can consider whether he considers that a minor change.
There is still a public hearing on this tomorrow night,
Yes.
Charlie, by the way.
This is just a public hearing through the planning board, there'll be another one with the council tomorrow night. Right?
Good evening, Greg McPherson. Mr. Hastings, you mentioned that, referring to section 181C, 2A and B, that the pre-blast surveys were to be done within the radius of the pre-blast zone, or the blasting zone. However, in reading the language, the first sentence of sections A and B say the applicant shall offer pre-blast surveys to owners of any structure on the property requiring written notice of blasting under 161-16-1D, which that number calls out the property lines. However, A and B then go on to say the cost of the pre-blast survey for structural located within the following distances of the proposed blasting area. So is this going to be distances set by the proposed blasting area, or is it distances from the?
Notice goes out to everyone within 500 feet of the property lines.
Yep.
In that notice, you have to say, if you want a pre-blast survey, let us know. You only have to, if you are the blaster, you only have to pay for that survey if it is within the distance from the blasting site, not the property line.
So we can
People
bill
who are
for,
outside of that can offer to pay for their own, make their own arrangements.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I just think the language as written doesn't quite, I could kind of see what the intent was, but I don't think that's really how it reads, so I just think there's some minor tweaking that could happen with that. Just seeing if there's anything else. On the top of page 2 of the proposal, so related to what we were just talking about, on the top of page 2, the last sentence before you get into the blasting section, it says, blasting with a permitted gravel pit must follow all requirements of state statute for abutting notice and pre-blast surveys. It just seems like you're already kind of stating that so it seems like they're trying to use town setbacks, but then it refers to the state, which just seems inconsistent to me.
To be honest, the lawyer added that sentence.
Yeah,
I didn't write that one.
so I think we ought to review that because it's two different things, so.
They are, I think it's fair to have it in there. It should be its own bullet point. The intention is that you need to follow this, but you also have to follow state law.
Right.
The intention there is we are requiring these written requirements. I believe state law for gravel pits requires notice to half a mile. It's 2,000.
Yep.
So those are still in effect despite our notice differences being different from the states.
And then obviously probably the biggest change that I see, I mean, I see just some language things that need to be cleaned up, which is very common with a proposed amendment. I get it. But the biggest change is the water quality testing, which typically isn't automatic that I've seen in other towns. I've been trying to get some sort of a cost estimate of what that is. Is that the 250 and 500 from the blast site,
Yes.
the furthest extent of the blast site? Okay. Because talking to a hydro guy this morning, he said the flow rate shouldn't be crazy, but it's not super cheap, easy. Everything else, the pH and everything else, that's a normal homeowner test. It's, $150, not a big deal. Okay.
There's about 20 other towns in southern Maine's ordinances There are 9 other that require well tests. Not all of them specify what that well test is. This language is consistent with at least a couple other towns, for what it's worth.
I do like the specificity. It's good. And then probably my final point, well, 2, sorry. So on page 4, when you're on section D, it's saying that, notices go out 500 feet the property line, and then when your intended first date of blasting is. So how does that work? So say I just got my blasting permit today, 365 days from now, I'm here getting another one. Does that reset the clock, or how does that work? That's not clear.
So that is mostly aimed at the smaller blasts that aren't necessarily getting a year-long permit.
Okay.
There is a little bit of, so of the first blast, I think, yes, you would have to notice it each year when you get a renewal permit. But otherwise, you don't have to do it within that year. You just have to do it ahead of the first blast under the permit.
So, okay, so with this language, they struck following issuance of a permit. So should that not be struck, if that's the case?
Again,
I'm just.
The attorney felt it was clearer without that, in that the issue there with the following the permit is if you are getting a CEO review, and this sometimes happens where people do not request their permit until within this notice window, it gives a opportunity to send those notices that you are asking for a permit and are offering these things with the hope of getting it approved. And then you don't get approved, well, you can't blast, but you still started this process. So it just is trying to address that the permitting window and the noticing window are not the same.
And I think my final comment maybe is the industry's used to giving code officer 24 hours notice, but we operate other quarries in other towns where we do same day, particularly for the neighbors, which we have found works way better. Because, and literally, years ago, we went around and talked to every single neighbor because the current ordinance said it was days in advance, which is crazy because if the weather turns, you're not gonna do a blast because then it just makes it not good for lots of reasons. I'm not gonna get into the details. So I would like the town to at least consider it. We've found, and literally every single neighbor we talked to, and we had to get signatures and approval from every neighbor, but we now do same day call lists. So, 9 o'clock, if we have a blast at 1 o'clock, we'll start making phone calls from 9 to 10. And they'll have 2 or 3 hours notice. Because half the time, some people would just forget, if they're home, if they're working from home or just, retired, whatever, they might forget. Be like, oh, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the blast, kind of.
And we actually, because that's D2 has the 24-hour notice to the town. Public safety.
Yep.
D4 is notice to people who have requested notice.
That's really what I'm focusing on.
So,
that
yeah.
comment. Yep, D4.
I can't promise you that that'll get into this current language change, but I'll add it to my list of things when we do some.
And this is the first public hearing for this proposed change.
This has been in front of the council twice.
Oh, okay.
And this is the planning board public hearing that we're required by law to have.
Okay.
They will also be on tomorrow night at the council, and they will have their formal public hearing.
Yep.
So your comments might be,
I plan on being there tomorrow as well.
make sure your comments are directed tomorrow night too, because
Yep.
that's gonna be where it's needed.
I didn't realize it was in front of the council. Well, I knew they bumped it over to here, but I didn't know they already
I hadn't,
twice.
This is the
the
first we've
24-hour
seen.
notice thing is something that's just been in there. I didn't look at changing that. It's fair to say that in the modern day, a better communication that a day of would be sufficient. So we'll definitely look into that.
We found it extremely
Can't
successful.
promise it'll happen with this
Understood.
order.
Just
Look into it.
wanted to throw it on the table.
Can I just ask a question? So like is that the same kind of thing that if I wanted to get my own pre-blast survey, how would I do that if it was same day?
Same day would be difficult. You'd want,
Right.
so with the 14-day notice, we would need to be notified then.
Right.
And then it could be arranged.
Yeah, you get the 14-day notice that blasting will happen, and then a day notice that it's
It's
actually happening.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm talking specifically just for a blasting event, for the same day notification
Okay.
to the homeowner that requests it. So we have, well, in Gorham, we have a lot, because there's a lot more people closer to us than our location in Standish. But we do, and we call them, we can text them, whatever their preference is, and email, everyone's different.
Right.
But I'd say it's probably half and half, text and phone calls, just because that's their preference. So, I think that's all I had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Scott, if this goes into effect, how are the blasting companies and the permits that are already issued, how will they be notified of the changes?
I mean, any permits that are already issued are gonna be operating under the conditions that they were issued under.
Okay, so,
I would be, I mean, again, most of the small things that go through the code office, I mean, they're doing their blasting in a day. They're not, that permit doesn't hang out for a long period of time. And we haven't approved a blasting permit here at the board, I think except for in gravel pits for over a year. So it's the only outstanding ones would be gravel pits.
And I think
None
all
of
three of
these,
those are well represented here tonight.
So they would be following the rules as when they got
So
those
you've been
permits
notified.
issued for the remainder of those permits. In
so
terms
it doesn't take effect immediately then for,
And if for those particular instance, no, we're not expecting you to renotice or start offering surveys in the middle of the permit.
Just to piggyback off of what Larry said here, under D number 1, it states that in the notification process, approximate date and times that the blasting will occur are to be on that notice. I understand for the first blast, but if these are year-long permits, how are we gonna know when the second, third, 10th blasts are gonna be when we're sending out that first 14-day notice? I think it should be a little more clear that,
Yeah,
maybe notify when the first blast will be, but
it's for the first blast.
I
is
understand,
what
but
We're
it's-
looking at there in that notice, anything that's got these, any of the gravel pit things that are, any of the larger projects that go to the planning board, we're gonna have the same planning board public process where they get notices then. So they'll have context by the time they get that notice.
yeah, it's just a little
But it's
unclear.
fair that, yeah, if we go through and do some sort of cleanup on just language without changing the requirements, that section should be cleaned up a little bit on the less than 300 and the greater than 300 for a little clarity there on those larger projects. That's a fair point.
Yeah, just want to make sure we're not trying to predict a year out when we're trying to do some blasting.
Right.
Just want to speak on one part of this. Now, they're gonna get the original notice 14 days ahead, is that what I'm understanding? Or how many days ahead?
Yeah, 14 days.
The only thing I have a problem with is people that don't work at home and have animals. So if you're blasting without the person knowing that you're gonna blast that day, some animals are very, very bothered by blasting and could tear someone's house apart, whatever. I think landowners, homeowners should know some idea. If they're not gonna be home, the pet's gonna have an issue, and that's just my concern. It's just not the people or the property. I think people that have animals, dogs, get really bothered by the shake and the noise. So I think you guys should give that some consideration on how much notice the landowner has on notification.
Back to the daily notice, they were reminded.
I don't know how you'd handle it, but I'm just saying, I think there should be some consideration on people that have pets that are working, that can't get right home to take care of the dog or take it somewhere else or do something with it. So I just wanna make that known. Thank you.
It's a good point, Tony. Just make sure you make it tomorrow night at the public hearing in front of the
I
council,
don't
which
think I'm gonna miss a meeting.
I know. Just telling you, this is what I always say to people. It's great you talking to us, but the ordinance committee and the town council are the ones who.
I'll say the same tomorrow.
I'm ready. Sorry. Any further discussion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second to close the public hearing. Discussion by the board.
Just appreciate your comments.
Very good. Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the impact fees if you'd like, and the form-based code revisions.
Appreciate the offer.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for your time, folks.
See you guys.
Yeah, if you wanna either shoot me an email or give me a call tomorrow, yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you around, Tony.
Impact fees look pretty straightforward.
Yep, so the impact fees are primarily to establish a formal transportation impact fee for the corridor of Route 25 from the Gorham line to the 2535 intersection. The board here is more familiar with this than most people. We have, in the last year or two, been levying this fee as part of our overall road impact fee. And it's just been, because this is such a focused area, we wanted to make sure that this was a clear and above board and predictable amount so that people applying for projects know what they're getting into, aren't surprised by it.
Yep.
So that's the primary thing here. There's a couple similar like we heard tonight. Often new things have minor housekeeping changes. And since we redid the impact fee section of the ordinance last year, there's a few minor housekeeping things that we're doing. But the primary one is that. I think the only other one that's really substantive is we had somewhat neglected, like it had been intended, but we neglected clarity that a replacement dwelling unit is not charged a impact fee under this section. So if you tear your house down and build a new one, like we do with Shoreland, you don't have to pay an impact fee because you're not impacting the town, you're replacing one-to-one. So we put that exemption in there explicitly because we were running into that technically under the ordinance, you'd have to come to the council and petition for that.
I mean, this covers that area where we're seeing the majority of the interest in development.
And it covers a section of town that needs improvement. That intersection, I think, is our current high priority traffic improvements.
Well, I guess I just wonder why this road isn't a high priority. Northeast Road, because it is in terrible condition. The ditches are a disaster. There's no shoulder. The roadway completely needs to be rebuilt.
I don't disagree with any of that.
State surveyed that last year.
The state is looking to do some work on that section. Hopefully improve at least some of those things.
What they're gonna do, who knows? They'll probably wait and resurvey.
But I mean, like, why that and Bonnie Eagle Road really have, but
Because
this one especially
the
is
way
so
impact fees
poor.
work, they need to be based on a change in demand. And the needs of that road are maintenance needs. It needs to be worked on. I would agree with that. But needs to be worked on no matter how much traffic goes over it. This impact fee is based on improvements that would increase the capacity of the road to handle traffic safely. And to be clear, that is intended to not just be vehicular traffic, it is all modes of traffic along the road. But it is tied to that increase in demand due to increased housing. Whereas the existing condition of the road needing maintenance improvements is not something that we're legally allowed by the state to charge impact fees for, because that's our problem, whether we have more houses or not.
Now, traffic counts. I know they put I'll call them the cable readers out there and to evaluate the traffic count. Does that fit into that equation?
So, and that's another reason we're trying to do it here is we do use traffic count equations for our typical road impact fees This quarter fee is based on a study and calculation that the town had Goral Palmer do, and so they've already done that math for them, and we have a per trip number rather than having to calculate out on the current traffic counts.
Which is outlined in, section D of this, the calculation.
Yeah, I guess just being a resident, I just can't understand the sequence of events, especially when we just had that major development, Woodbury, all those houses in there, going in the other direction to Bonnie Eagle, we have another huge condominium complex going in. Both of these roads have no shoulder, lots of traffic, terrible drainage. We have to redig the drainage. And if you, heaven forbid, your car goes off, it's going down to a major decline, get wrecked. And I don't understand why the town's not working directly with the state to not just repave the road, but to repair with sidewalks and make it a passable, safe road for traffic and pedestrians. I mean, there's a lot of things happening there with school, the food pantry, there's just a lot of stuff happening there. And
I agree with everything you said.
I saw it.
and that's in much worse condition than anything we see on 25 with
There's a
paved
disconnect.
shoulders.
In terms of construction, yes, and again, this is not aimed at construction, it's aimed at the traffic backups and that safety and throughput questions on. This is what it is now, and this is what it's going to be with additional traffic. I fully agree with everything you've said about the condition of the other roads, but that's not what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
Those would have to be resolved
Boggles
through
my
our
mind.
state representative, right?
Valid point, it's very interesting, you put 75 houses off of Northeast Road, you charge those residents impact fees, right? Impact fees go into a fund, I assume, and then does it just sit there and never fix the road that those houses are going to impact?
For that particular development, a large portion of their impact fees went into helping pay for the intersection improvements that we did at 114.
Perfect.
And now there is also money to help the town repave that road, but it's not about widening it.
It's a bigger problem than just shim and overlay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree, but that's.
I
Total
whatever
waste
we
of cash.
That's what preaching.
They have given us money toward putting into it, but the amount of money that we can charge as an impact fee for them, their additional trips is not changing the needs of that road in terms of drainage. And therefore, that is a problem the town has to fix as a whole. We cannot make these new residents pay for that out of entirely their own pocket.
So what's the state's role in that, if the town has to do the maintenance on it?
I mean, it's in the compact. Structural improvements are largely within the state's purview, unless we pay for it. In which case, we can work with them and they'll review it and they'll approve it, but there's room for improvements to be done on state roads, especially in compact areas, if someone other than the state pays for it. And that's how we did the 114 intersection. That was a municipal state partnership where we came up with money and they came up with money.
This whole section then is the compact zone, there's no urban in there.
I mean, the urban compact zone is the technical term.
Right.
But
Because of the population, the number of units, okay. Frank?
Question. So, impact fees, which body, meaning council, planning board, CEO, which body determines that a given project needs to come up with an impact fee? Is that something that?
so for the open space and rec, and the public safety impact fees that were established last year, they are established through their existence is established in the ordinance, and the council sets what they are as part of their fees. For the analysis, the corridor impact fee that we're talking about here tonight, the dollar amount is set straight in the ordinance. So it's spelled out explicitly. For the road impact fee, that is only for projects that come to the planning board, and that's set here by the planning board with the advice of Public Works.
And one last comment, based on what we were just talking about. When the town sets a capital plan, and you look at all the things we're voting on here coming up, I think number 5 or number 6 is we are gonna perform maintenance on these 5 roads. So there is money that the town decides to, in the way of maintenance, I forget what roads are on the one they were about to vote on. But isn't that the mechanism to fix road maintenance issues?
Yes.
So,
Those are all secondary roads.
Right,
I don't know which ones are on this year, but
yeah, they typically don't do the major corridor from the,
So, okay, so it's just the smaller roads. But if the town's on a hook to do maintenance on the roads, that's the vehicle that the town's been using. Is they ask for, $500,000, $1 million.
yeah, and I mean, impact fees are a complicated and very rigid and overseen by the state through statute about what we can and cannot use them for or charge them for, and any funds collected in them have to be kept in a separate account so that we can apply them exactly the way that we said we were and are allowed to under the state. And again, they can't be used for maintenance. They have to be used for the increased demand, like the change in demand that we have from whatever we are charging it for.
Is there a financial threshold that meets that standard? Like, is it 25,000, is it 100,000, or?
We have to be able to justify whatever we're doing, which is again why we have this Goral Palmer report that we did on this is what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to cost to fix it to meet the needs that we have today. This is the cost we're going to need to expand it to hold the expected future cost, and that gave us a future trip number that we can apply as an impact.
but have we asked Laura Palmer to look at any other street that is seriously in disrepair and non-functional, like this one right
You
here?
have to talk to Public Works. I don't know what their plans are for maintenance on roads.
I mean, to me, it's not, we just keep retiring, but we're never fixing any of the problems that are incredibly obvious.
I thought the village came out really good. So that was a big, not to one-up you, Carolyn, but I think it was long overdue and that was a good project. I'm glad that happened. But I agree 100%. This is, it's underserving the community.
Mr. Chair, do you want to basically make sure we get the public hearing part done so we don't get?
Yes. We've closed the public hearing to the public.
No, we
We
didn't
don't have
open
to
it.
close this one, but we have to talk about the form-based code.
I mean, you haven't formally opened and closed.
Yeah, we haven't, sorry, that's what I'm saying,
No,
Chair.
no, no,
We
no.
haven't formally opened the public hearing for this one, so make sure we cover that one.
Thought we did, but that's all right.
Sorry, I always mark my papers when we do stuff, like, so
Okay.
that's why I know we didn't do it, because I didn't put a box on it yet. So I make a motion to open for public hearing, the amendments to the Standish Town Capital Code 181 capital impact fees.
Okay.
Seconded, discussion, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay,
Sorry, I'm not saying that you might not have a comment, or,
would you like to say anything?
I'm all set, thank you very much.
You don't want to talk to us about all this stuff? Wow.
So I know that 2 years ago, when they were doing the road study out here, they talked about taking this whole road right down to the dirt and then rebuilding it.
Yep.
And then repaving, because I had talked to John about it. And he said, it was based on money that the state was gonna put into it. And it just wasn't, and we were supposed to match it, but they didn't want to come up with what they were supposed to. They wanted to give less.
Despite it being in the compact area, again, unless we do a large amount of the heavy lifting and get them to approve it, like we did for the intersection, the state is responsible for, like, we're responsible for winter maintenance, for plowing, maybe
They
for a shim
compensate us for
coat,
that.
but
Yeah.
we are not responsible for the actual reconstruction of roads that the state owns. Like, close the public hearing?
Was the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Unanimous. Now, motion to open the public hearing for the form-based code updates.
I'm sorry, Chair, I did have one question on this.
Sorry.
I thought we were gonna have an opportunity to just. On page 2 of the impact fee, in section B, need for improvement, town maintains miles of local public streets and roads. Local stands out to me, and it's an unnecessary word, and if you read into that paragraph a little bit deeper, it talks about acceptance of standard road conditions and how they're built. My mind goes directly to, are they talking about private roads? Because we still take care of private roads to an extent, don't we? Kinda?
So I believe the intention there is, it's not local public streets, roads, it's local public streets and roads.
Yeah.
So,
So
because we are not.
Of course, they're
respon-
local, I know,
That's, the difference is we are not responsible for non-local public roads, which the state is responsible for.
And we don't, the only thing we do on private roads is we plow some of them, right?
We have winter weight maintenance agreements on some, yes. We
But not all.
cannot and do not do other maintenance to private roads.
okay.
So
And that's a fixed
the
number,
intention,
right?
I think, with the local public is to differentiate town roads from state roads.
Okay,
It is very confusingly worded there.
well, I don't think it fits. I think it could be, we take care of local roads. I think someone could argue that, it's a local road, we're gonna take care of it, of course we're gonna take care of it. You signed it.
Town accepted might be a little bit more.
I think that's exactly appropriate. Sorry, words matter, and I think that leaves it open a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can add it to housekeeping list to clean up some language, yeah.
And we can do this again when it comes up.
Well, yeah, it goes back to the ordinance
Because
committee.
you
The ordinance committee
You
goes
can't
to
make all
council.
the changes that Grondin had
Of course not.
and Woods had. You'd have to go through the whole thing again, right? The whole.
I mean, that's why I say, I keep a list of the like typos and small
Yeah.
things so we can, every other year or so, we
That's what
do
I'm
a
doing.
big one order that does just pages of housekeeping cleanup. And so the small stuff we can do that way.
I know, but that defeats the whole purpose of the public hearings.
Those will also go to public hearing.
I know, but still, I mean, you have a public hearing, so you can get everybody's feedback and you can incorporate it so that it's done properly the first time. That just boggles my mind
Get 3 readings.
yes, that's
Sorry, I
right.
hate to say it, Andrew, they wait till, you notice how every pit guy was here, and I'm saying it on tape. They were all here tonight, but the previous things went, to Carolyn's point, if they had come and gone to the previous ones and we could have.
Gone to the ordinance meetings?
Yeah, but you have 3 hearings for a
me.
reason, and that's
Yeah.
because not everybody's up to speed.
Then you gotta ask the question, were
Beginning.
they ever notified?
Correct, sorry.
That's probably the issue. They were never notified.
Anyway,
They don't live in this town.
I mean, for the blasting one that has gone since the first reading, we heard comment, they sent it back to ordinance committee, we worked on it, and it is now like, the process is working in that we have made edits based on feedback. We have some more to work on, and we'll see if the council feels that that is something that needs to be handled before they vote for it, or if they want to vote for it and we'll do some cleanup later. That's on the council, and they have that chance at the meeting tomorrow
It's
night.
ultimately they're on their shoulders. Yeah, okay.
I mean, for all it's worth, it seems a little hokey to me that we even have the process that we have tonight. It's the council that's changing the ordinances.
Yep.
It's the council that takes 3 times going through to approve it. They have their meetings. They have 3 open to the publics. It just seems to me that it's kind of hokey that we even have any friggin' role in that.
You're absolutely correct.
No, I don't agree with that at all, because when I was on the ordinance committee, it's the planning board that deals with the ordinances all the time. And they are most familiar with the impact that an ordinance change has. And so I don't agree with Scott's perspective that this is just a hearing and we don't give any feedback to the council, because they're more removed from the ordinances, from the daily practicality, the implementation of them. And we used to depend on input from the planning board in the changes that we propose. Or we would get ideas from them to work on ordinance changes. This system where we say, oh, it's just a formality that it's here, but we don't have any input, just boggles my mind. It's backwards.
But the
If you'd like to
process
show
is
up
not
at the meeting tomorrow
aligned.
night, you have input.
I will show
But
up.
the process is not aligned. If they're on meeting 2 or meeting 3 of making the changes permanent, then we're coming to the party late.
We are,
Yeah.
usually we're not last.
So
We should be the first one.
We should be first.
Yes.
Should be first, that's
if,
right.
if the planning board would like to have multiple hearings on ordinance changes, then we can have one sooner. We have to have this one at the end, because by state law, we need to have a planning board public hearing on a proposed ordinance change, and it has to be on the language that is being voted on. So we get to this point now where we need to get to the point where the order is reasonably set. I'm not gonna say that the council can't do some tweaks tomorrow night as part of their meeting, but if that's how they feel comfortable. But if we, like the blasting one, if we had had a public hearing 2 months ago, we wouldn't have had the language that was in front of us tonight. And that, to me, would not meet the state requirements for the planning board to have public hearings. And this is a factor of, I mean, the town process can be what the town process wants to be, but the state requires a public hearing on a planning board.
I think we're talking about 2 different things, really. We're talking about this, what we have to do right now, but I think there's some valid points down this table. Planning board should lead in the planning of the town.
On planning issues, yeah.
Planning issues.
Yeah, this is a planning issue. It's clear, it's very clear, the blasting and the, to Carolyn's points, the roads and things like that, those are planning.
But we don't
Yeah.
I know where you're going with that, but we don't operate in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Where both bodies are working for the residents of the town of Standish, and we have an obligation to make sure that we're doing the people's work. And sometimes those lines or these 2 bodies need to connect better.
There's no formal process for workshops. To me, that's the big issue. Something like this comes up, the council or the planning board has something like this, they should call a workshop where the parties get together and they discuss it. And it could be open to the public to sit there and listen, but at least then everybody's on the same page. We don't do that.
If the planning board wants to have a more formal role, they can talk to the council about that. A lot of towns would have a member of the planning board appointed to, say, the ordinance committee that we have here. I mean, a lot of times an ordinance committee is not a subcommittee of the council, it's its own entity. And you can have planning board members appointed to that. So like when I worked in New Gloucester, they had a land use management committee that did all the ordinance changes, went through that committee, and it was its own entity that had a council member appointed to it. 2 of the planning board members had to be on it, and then some members of the public that could be appointed to it as well. And that was its own entity that went through and created ordinance changes to then propose to the town.
In your opinion, did that work?
I agree with you and Carolyn that there is a space for planning board to be involved in ordinances because they are dealing with a lot of them.
I couldn't agree
on a
more.
regular basis.
Shall we move on to the?
Yes, sorry. So.
Open the public hearing for the.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. See what
Yeah, I just think
again, like
town meeting
some of the other
roads-
things, it might not be right away.
Yeah, I think Charlie's point was very accurate, town maintain roads.
Okay, I'll make a motion to open a public hearing for the amendments to the Standish Town Code, Chapter 181, changes to 181.71, form-based code village districts. The one that we send electronically, the 40-page model.
Are we going to talk about this at all after the public comment?
I think we were just opening the public hearing to make sure we
Okay.
don't miss it.
Yeah, because we miss it then, Carolyn, we've just held
Okay.
them up, they can't do, sorry, per state law, we're screwed if like we miss
I'll
our
second
one
it.
step.
We can just say sorry.
We just got things a little bit out of a line on the blasting.
So we got a first and a second from Carolyn.
Right. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, the public hearing is open for comment.
Seeing none.
Comment.
No public comment. There's nobody here. Well, we have one person.
Sorry,
She
there's
won't
one
talk
person
to us.
here and
As a staff member.
as staff.
Staff member, she rejects. Okay,
I move we close the public hearing.
move to close the public hearing. Seconded by Sean. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Public hearing is closed. So this is basically housekeeping on the form-based code, stuff that
I
we
would say
discussed
it's a
in the
little more
past.
substantive than
It's
that.
definitely
house.
Well, a
more
lot of the
substantive.
stuff that was discussed in the comprehensive plan has been incorporated into those
That is what
changes.
spurred these changes, yes.
I'll just say that the last time we had an approved comprehensive plan, the council created committees of residents to review the ordinance and to try to come up with language with a professional to implement the code, implement the vision of the plan. I find personally that many of the changes that are proposed here work counter to or in opposition of the vision of the comprehensive plan. And when the last time we did the code and we had so many experts from Grow Smart Maine, so many incredible resources that helped us do that planning, there were specific reasons for lots of small details that were put in the code. And those were talked about at length. And I feel like those details are more complex than meets the eye. And now a lot of those details are just being changed without those same types of conversations with citizens at that same kind of depth. And to me, my feeling is that town staff is working in opposition to the desire of the community to keep the rural character of the community intact. And I have found that in my 3 years of experience on this board. And I think this is the wrong way to go at the wrong time when we just have a brand new comprehensive plan. That same process should be followed where citizens are asked to come together and look at the code and come up with a plan that implements the code. I look at these changes and to me, they just completely undermine the whole rural character. And we just spent so much money. We had so many resources, even in this last round of comprehensive plan, it's a big lump of cash that the town invested. And just take signage, for instance. To say all of a sudden we can have internally lit, I would like to say, can we please implement the code as is for 1 year without a million waivers, without a million code infractions that never get addressed? Can we just do that for 1 year and see what happens with the development in town? Or just drive down Ossipee Trail and just enforce the code and clean up the mess that's already there? Can we just do that for 1 year before we go ahead and propose all these changes? This just turns my stomach, I have to say. Leave it at that for tonight.
I haven't got it right here in front of me, but I have looked it all over. I thought it was a good effort at trying to address all the issues that were talked about when the Comprehensive Plan Commission the group was going through every one of these various items. Not the specific language of the ordinance, but the intent of certain things to combine some of the roads and how things were gonna happen. So I guess I have a little bit more of an open opinion on it.
I'll give you another example, Charlie. When you have a development that is created, but street trees aren't planted for 4 years, of course, people are gonna be upset with wanting to plant their own yard landscapes after the fact. But there's no reason for there to be all that time to go by before street trees are put in on a development. That's code enforcement. And there's lots of things in this community that has undermined the code that we have, and all of a sudden you get this. I could do a whole litany of things, but if, you know, when I read the new comprehensive plan about wanting to keep that rural character intact, even going back to wanting to focus a little more on the historical structures or the historical significance, you're gonna have that with all these internally lit and neon signs that are okay, and all the other things that are put in here. It's like we've totally negated all the thoughtful conversations with urban planners that specifically focus on smart growth. And if you look at other communities, the things that we initially proposed and put on that video that we made are being adopted all over the state. And instead of us following suit, we're taking a huge step backwards and going back to regular development that totally leads to urban sprawl. And we see it on our streetscape right now because of lack of code enforcement the lack of code enforcement and the number of waivers we're frequently asked to approve. You know, waive this, waive that, it's okay, you have the prerogative. No, you don't if it doesn't meet the intention of the code. And I feel like you have all these residents that say this is what we want, and then we have the municipal center that goes in opposition of that, works against each other instead of in conjunction with. And I find that really hard to swallow. And after 3 years of being on this board, that's been my experience. And I'm distressed at all the hard work that has been done, all the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been invested only to take this giant step backwards. Makes me sick.
Anyone else? A chance to review stuff? Any comments?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second to adjourn. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much.